Hey everyone, welcome to EntrepreNINES. I'm John Wist.
And I'm Bonni Mace. We're two Enneagram 9s who took the big leap into the world of entrepreneurship at a similar time, and this podcast is a space where we are inviting you to laugh and learn with us as we work to build our businesses with soul. This is episode number 36.
36.
Welcome.
Welcome. Let's just get into it because
Okay.
I feel ready.
Yeah. John's ready.
I'm so ready.
This is a fresh one.
Yeah. So we talked last episode about finding a new client, finding new clients, some things to think about, and some ways to go about doing that. And I walked in today for this recording, and I said, Bonni, you know what's on my mind right now?
And I said, John, what's on your mind?
And I said, rejection. And you know what?
And my heart broke.
And you know what? I feel like as we were talking about it, just like, oh, this is a very natural follow-up to finding clients, finding your first client.
Yeah.
Because anytime you put yourself out there to do business with somebody, there's going to be far more than one person that says no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So rejection.
But also boo.
Yeah. So welcome to the downer party. No, we're going to try to, we'll keep it light. We'll keep it light, as light as we can.
This is like going to be a real-time pep talk, y'all.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Please let me walk out feeling better than I walked in. So, no. And I think what we were discussing also is that there's, I think, some good conversation we can have specifically about nines and our relationship with rejection.
Yeah.
Like our relationship with feeling like people have pushed us away. So, let's just talk a little bit about what is rejection
Okay.
in our businesses. Like, what is it? What has it felt like? What has it looked like?
Yeah.
You know, just to give an example, I don't want to go, we're not going down to the depths
names.
here. Yeah. Well, no, definitely not names. Definitely not names. But just like what in our specific businesses, what has it looked and felt like for you, Bonni?
Yeah. Okay. So mine's pretty easy because mostly due to the fear of rejection, I put myself out there way less, especially than you have. And so I'm very particular with how I've gone out there. And some of that have been like, well, I haven't figured out who I want to serve, which is true. But then sometimes I'm just like, that's scary. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's been a dance. Generally, I think for me, rejection mostly has felt, because I've primarily used social media, rejection has felt like, these people don't support me online. Like they can't even, and I've talked about that before. Like they can't even show support online. Like who's going to actually hire me if it's so hard to hit a share button? Like that's
if the people who don't know me already aren't giving me the
right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I've worked it up in my head.
Yeah.
And then as far as honestly, John, I'm so bad at this because I just don't put myself out there in very risky ways quite yet.
It's okay.
So
I think we can come back to that though.
If you're with me, you're not alone.
Yeah. Let's come back to that in a minute. I'll answer this question and let's come back around.
John's being brave, guys. Let's
come back around to just the fear of rejection. We'll come back to that because I feel like that's also part of this conversation that is also very much to do with nines.
Yeah, that's more where I'm at, John. So talk about your things.
Okay, so I would say, for me, I was telling Bonni before we started recording, I'm trying to feel better when I do put myself out there and people say no. A lot of times that no is we'll call it a soft no, in the sense that it's like a lot of time. What I'm trying to, when I
cold pitch,
right. When I'm cold pitching someone. So if there's, again, we've talked about this a little bit, like if there's somebody I'd like to work with because I appreciate their brand, or I appreciate what they're doing, or, I see something in them and in their business that I feel like I could add to. Mm-hmm. What I've been trying to do is within my first email, give them some value and tell them exactly what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. Like not be like, I'm a video guy and I can do whatever you want. Yeah. It's like, no, I see like this specific
Wait till you hear my magic plan.
Yeah. Yeah. No bait, no baiting them. It's just been like, hey, have you thought about, or I could see the ability to use video to talk about these things and it be helpful to you. Mm-hmm. And so I've tried to do that more. And I think I've seen the response be more positive, or just more response in general to a cold email. But a lot of times it will come back with, I got one earlier this week that was like, we're in the middle of a renovation in our space and it's just really not a good time. And that's understandable, right? Yeah. That's understandable. So and for that one in particular, it's like, I got an email back. And they said maybe.
They said maybe.
Or they said not right now, and which I took as a maybe, right? Because that sounds
like a maybe.
Yeah. So so I've been trying to view it through a different lens of like, this is a maybe. And so because of that then goes into a follow-up bucket, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point I just need to be like, hey, I'm still here.
Me again.
Yeah.
I'm sure you haven't been thinking about me through your construction project.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've been thinking about you.
I've been thinking about you. I haven't forgotten about you. But then there are the people, or there are the times where there's a more firm no. Mm-hmm. And I think I've had two different experiences with that.
Okay.
One is just cold pitch. No, we're good. Yeah. Thanks. And that doesn't feel so bad, because I haven't invested a lot of time into it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. More recently, I've had the experience where I've had like a personal referral, and the conversations have been very good. Done a site visit, started to sketch out some potential, like what this would look like. Here's how it would work. Give them proposal, all that kind of stuff. And then, after even more time of kind of back and forth, like, then it's like, hey, sorry.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like the, just dagger to the heart. And I was saying to Bonni earlier when I was explaining the situation, like, like me doing some of the legwork is on me, right? Mm-hmm. Like I didn't have a formal contract, but I've tried not to treat people like, I don't know, robots in the sense of like, I want you to see that I'm willing to put the work in. I want you to see that I'm willing to do some legwork to show you that there's value here. Yeah. And so I think that in particular, when that comes along, that feels really like personal. And I told you, I was telling Lauren about this, and she said to me, she's like, this isn't personal, right? And I just go,
Chief Practicality Officer coming in hot.
And I want to cry. No, so yeah. So that's what it's felt like for me. There's varying levels to it, and there's learning to cope some with it. Because you're in understanding that you're just putting yourself out there. Yeah. And that there's no necessarily reason for them to say yes initially, right? Yeah. So so it's been changing. But let's come back. Let's go back to the fear of rejection, Bonni.
Yeah, it's real.
Because I feel like that definitely is the first hurdle, right? Like you have to get over that first to get to the point. And you've put yourself in positions where you've gone out on a limb and offered something, and people for the most part have said yes. Yeah. So you have some evidence that
it's can work. I can survive.
Yeah. But so what is let's go to the fear rejection side, and as our enneagram expert, what is that? What is the fear?
What is that?
Why? And do you feel like it is a 9 thing, or is it just heightened in 9s? What is that?
Yeah, I don't think it's an exclusively 9 thing. I think there are a few numbers that are people pleasers.
Sure.
And so that rejection probably, like, we can feel it a little bit more closely.
Yeah.
I think there are some numbers that barely even hear rejection and they move on. They're like, I forgot you even asked me. Like, I think of like 8s and 3s who are like undeterred by anything.
Yeah.
And I appreciate them because these are the kind of people that are like, you're lost, buddy. You know?
Bring on the next one.
That's great. That is not me. And it's not most 9s, I would guess. I think we can learn it.
Yeah.
And learn the it's your lost buddy mentality.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it comes from just some of our core fear. Mm-hmm. And our core fear is causing discord and not being rejected, but causing discord, and also like they're losing the relationship.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to lose the relationships. And so I do think there's a heightened part of this, as I'm saying that, in the early stages of business building, because we're going to the people we know.
Yeah.
And the network is a lot closer right now. And there are people like we have previous relationship or have admired their businesses personally, because it's not that people know much about our business. It's that we're putting ourselves in front of people. So obviously we have to know the person in the first place. So I think in early business, that's probably why it does feel a little bit more extra.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's like, well, these are people I really want to help and want to serve, or that I know and have a previous relationship with.
Yeah.
And so the idea of losing the relationship because you're trying to make a living is like, is it worth it? Is my paycheck worth it to lose this relationship? Right. And so I do think there is a bit of a heightened stress behind that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's that, are they mad at me? Like, did I make them mad with this offer? We're always worried about making people mad and causing, conflict. Yeah. And so I think that's another thing too, is just, did I say something wrong in the email? Like there's just all of these places that our brains automatically go instead of automatically thinking, they just don't need enneagram coaching right now.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you say that, 'cause that's, but I think part of it is, I mean, now that you're talking about it, like there is a definite peacekeeping part of this for me that I'm like, now I'm almost in like, not justice mode, but like, help me understand how to not put someone else through this next time. Do you know what I mean? Like that is almost like my gut reaction is like, holy crap, what did I do wrong? And help me understand how to not do this again. Cause I don't want to, it's like about, it's about me. Yeah. I don't want to feel like this again. Yeah. Right. And I think the point is that like, yes, there's good intention behind that in the sense of, I don't want to put someone else through this, or I want to get better at my process. I want to get better at how I present things. But the other person is the person that actually controls, like whether this happens or not. Yeah. Not me. Like I can only put forward my best foot. I can only put forward my best offer, my best proposal. And if it's not what they need, or if it's not what they want, like that is not something I can control. And like that's really hard.
It was your best foot, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a best foot. It wasn't the best foot for them. Right. You know what I mean? And I think that is the hard part of it too, is remembering that we're, especially early in business, you're still working to find who is going to be your best audience, like who is your best effort going to best serve. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you're not good at your job, or that they're dumb, or that the relationship can't survive. Like all of those things can coexist, that you can give your best effort. It cannot be the thing for them. And we can still be friends. Yeah. Yeah. I think that our brains go there too, because we're such big picture, holistic thinkers sometimes, that we wonder, well, if they don't want this part of me, then are they going to want any part of me? Because this is a big part of me right now. And you're like, yikes indeed. Yeah. Sometimes I say things that are much scarier than I realize I'm going down that road. No, it's okay. But it's true. Yeah. So I do think that's another part of it too, is learning how to compartmentalize, which is hard right now because there's so much risk involved already.
Right.
And there's so much of ourselves in this already. And we're not merging. We're doing our own thing. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
For a 9. And so it's just a high stakes.
Yeah.
All of it's very high stakes.
Yeah. It does feel that way sometimes, I think.
It feels high stakes. That's a good way to say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, I think it feels that way, especially early on, because there's it feels like there's so much riding.
I think saying the word feels is really important for us right now.
Let me just keep injecting that into everything. It feels like so much is riding on it, right? And so when you get that no, and it's kind of just like, like where? Okay, so now I have to replace this. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that's where my brain goes. It's like, okay, this is something that I was hoping for, that I was hopeful for. It's gone. Now I have to replace it. And I think that's something that, again, like I'm trying to work out of a little bit, because it's not entirely accurate. Like I don't need to just go out and replace that specific person or relationship. Like you said, like there could still be something there. To that point, like there's been multiple people that I've had conversations with who have been not yet, right? And have come back and said, I think I'm close, or I think I'm getting there, and so to not completely just like shove that person away out the door, there's even people I've worked with, like some of the very first people that I worked with, who I will still, even if it's been like 6 months, I'll still reach out if I'm thinking of them and just be like, hey, how's it going? Yeah. Because I think
that's smart.
I'm not doing that from a perspective of earning their business. I'm doing it from a perspective of we had a time that we worked together at one point. I care that like you are doing well, and I'm just checking in. And so, cause you never know what kind of response that will get. Yeah. Right. And so, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's
I'm not always good at it, but like when I think of them, then I'm like, okay,
you're going to reach out.
I'm going to reach out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But
rejection.
Okay.
Yeah. Compartmentalizing it, I think, is really important. And it sounds like you are doing that a lot of the time, of saying,
sometimes
this isn't about, sometimes he says, I definitely think that's where I need to get to. And some of it, I think, for me is it's because the only thing I'm marketing is literally like my brain.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think
fire my brain.
When I think about like what you're doing versus what I'm doing, right? Like, gosh, I can understand where the fear, like I understand where it's coming from, because I feel personal about it. And yet like what I'm delivering to someone, yes, it's something that I've created.
Yeah,
it's
your brain is very involved.
I've made, and it is my brain. But that piece of something, when they look at that, they're not necessarily going to think about me.
Right. Yeah.
In the future. Right. Like a year from now.
They're going to be like, there's that awesome video we made.
That video was so great. Who made that again? Gosh, do you guys remember who made that video?
No, they're going to know. Let's hire that guy again. This is
right. Yeah. But for you, it is your brain. Like you're like, it is your brain. Like it is. That's hard. Yeah. That's hard, Bonni. That you need to give yourself credit that like,
oh, thanks.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's something very intimate about your brain.
Yeah. And what am I doing here? Because coaching is a little bit redonkulous for Nine in a way, because now I'm also like needing to say the words to people that necessarily they don't always want to hear. Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of it of like, oh, if they reject me, that's going to suck. Yeah. But if they hire me,
oh my
then
God.
I'm going to say the words.
What am I going to tell them? That's when this other part
it's called a catch-22.
I was going to say, that's when this other part of us wonderful nines pops in, which is I I want to be heard, or I want my voice to be valued. And yet,
what if they hear me?
yeah. And yet when they're asking to hear my voice and my value.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, that's it.
Oh,
that's
sheesh.
it. I'm doing like just an enneagram presentation with this like, okay, so here's one for me.
Okay. Yeah.
It's on the horizon.
Okay, great.
With this MOPS group that I have been trying out and been like a couple times.
Yep.
And committed to going to this fall. And here we are, like the third one, and I'm going to do an enneagram presentation at it. And I'm having stress dreams. And this is the first time I've had stress dreams about my work since ministry.
Yeah.
So it's definitely saying something about like, what if what all of these people are going to be like, chase me out with a torch, you know? Get out. I don't think that's actually going to happen, but apparently my subconscious is struggling with it.
Yeah.
There was no torches in my dreams.
That's good.
But I think that's what my subconscious is getting at by me. Okay, the dream was that I showed up to do this presentation, but didn't actually do any like slides or anything.
Okay.
Which is quite important in an Enneagram presentation.
Yeah. You need some visuals.
You need some visuals. Yep. And so in my dream, I just looked for an old one, and then somehow there was like weird stuff in it, calling people good and bad, which I never do.
Nice.
First place. And so it was very polarized, and I was embarrassed.
Oh man.
And so that's how my subconscious is feeling about the potential of rejection.
Nice.
Bad.
Yeah.
Is apparently the answer.
Well, or you look at it from the standpoint of like, your fear of rejection is just preparing you.
Yeah, I mean, I did the slides yesterday, actually.
See, you had that stress dream. You're like, you know what I need to do? I need to make sure I got the right dang slides.
I need to do those dang slides so I don't have a stress dream about this anymore.
See, that's done and dusted.
It's done. It's great. But yeah, no, those are the kind of things my brain does when the rubber meets the road.
No, I feel that.
Doing the things.
Okay.
It's hard.
Bonni, help me out here. Okay. From a 9 perspective, we're talking about our personal experience. So there's some of this in that, and we can build on that a little more.
Yes, but we are not all the 9s.
No, we're not all the 9s. Mm-hmm. Like coping strategies.
Yeah.
Help me kind of understand on a certain level, like what are some things that we can do just generally umbrella as 9s.
Yeah.
When we either fear rejection or we've been rejected and we need some framework to like hold on to.
Okay. This is a good question. The first thing that came to mind as you were saying this is some kind of like, I struggle with the right words. So tell me like mission statement or purpose or something beyond project to project or client to client basis.
Yeah.
So this is one I've struggled with in my like establishing my business is I know I need it, but I think some of it has been like my wrestling back and forth with like how exactly I'm going to do this. So things are getting a little bit more clarified for me. And like, if I can just help people not think that they suck, and like start to view themselves more as a masterpiece than as like a depraved scum person.
You posted it on Threads the other day.
I did.
That was great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I'm getting there.
I was getting like old Bonni. No, I'm sorry.
Wait, say more words, John.
I was getting like flashback Bonni vibes.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because Bonni had like, I feel like you would, especially obviously in our time in ministry, like you were very good about the teams that you led. Like there was one defining principle that you kind of built everything off of.
Okay.
And it's your God's well of masterpiece.
It's true. So I pocketed that crap for a while.
Yeah.
And,
and now you're like,
because I was afraid of it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was because it's just like, I don't know how much I want to get into this.
Right.
Look, apparently that didn't work out for me. So I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, actually did work out and we can move this way.
Yeah.
All that say, okay, back to the strategies.
Sorry.
So I think something like that, to have an overall umbrella of like, this is why I'm choosing to do this. And it can be, for me, I tend to be a little bit more philosophical.
Sure.
And so for me, it needs to be something big like that, like how I impact the world. I hear in the coaching I get sometimes that like, even if it's just, I want to make $100 a month for my family, or that's incredibly low, but you get the idea. And for me, that doesn't work. Like I am not externally motivated by like exactly you know, how much I want to bring in or stuff that wants to benefit me. So I need something kind of external. Yep. So I think having that and then understanding that when you have that big mission statement or vision or how you fit in, that moving towards that is going to take the work of peacemaking, which is healthy 9 brain, instead of peacekeeping, because the difference between those two things is peacekeeping is things just stay the way they are, which means you're not actually doing anything, right? Yeah. You're just maintaining the status quo, which we can be quite good at, but it's not actually helpful. And a lot of times, like, it actually can sometimes be beneficial or sorry, not detrimental is the word I'm trying to say. So the exact opposite. That's really fun.
It's okay.
So then peacemaking requires that things are arranged differently or that things are done differently or that you insert yourself into the picture instead of just be the one that's holding it all together from a distance. So I think those two things on like a philosophical level and then on a really practical level, like give yourself a little pep talk before you hit the send on the cold email. And then if somebody rejects you, like give yourself another pep talk or get yourself a chief practicality officer like Lauren who can say, it's not personal. You're doing a good job. Ooh, join Work Like a 9. And tell us about in a monthly call, like how you're dealing with that rejection. Let us all say, I hear what you're saying and why that feels so personal, but did you consider, and let us kind of broaden your perspective on that a little bit, and then celebrate when you're not rejected. Because I think probably, this is me preaching to myself, probably more right now. I am rejected less often than I feel like, but we make the rejections feel much bigger in our head. Than the acceptances. Okay, I'm going to add a couple things. Please do. To all of those things. But I'll start working backwards from the most recent because it's just on top of my head. So from that perspective, I also feel like what we do as business owners a lot of times is we will put something in front of someone and have an expectation for what they will choose. Like, and this is kind of beyond rejection a little bit. This is kind of like us expecting them to love what we do and to choose to pay us X amount of money, you know, to do this certain thing, or that they're going to want to have some sort of relationship with us. And so they're going to choose to handle it this way. And I think a lot of times what we do is when they come back to us and they say, actually, this is what I would like to do with you. Instead of celebrating, because I've done this, instead of celebrating the fact that they just said they want to work with you, we like think it's rejection. We think it's rejection. I couldn't accurately predict the exact future. Right. We think it's rejection because they didn't choose what we thought they would choose. Our expectations were not in line with theirs or something, you know? And so like when in reality, and I've had to do this recently, it's like, no, they've chosen to work with me. Like bottom line. I get to work with them. They said yes. Be happy, John. Like celebrate, yay! You know. So I think that's one thing. Going back to peacekeeping versus peacemaking. Could we argue that like peacekeeping is more so us trying to please them, the royal them? Whereas peacemaking is recentering like ourselves on our goals for our business versus like centering ourselves on the goals of someone else's business. Okay. You ready to get oh, sorry. Keep going. No, that was it. That's it? Yeah. Okay. So here's a little like nerdy, philosophical, theological. The word shalom in Hebrew is peace. And what it actually means is wholeness. This is from the Bible Project's Advent series. If you want to go back for it sometime. And so it's wholeness, right? This idea of true peace. And the thing about wholeness is we have to be included in order for it to be whole. Nice. Okay. And so I think that's a hard thing for a 9 is we think, oh, peace, it like I can take myself out of it.
Yeah.
And things will be at chill.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't need anything here. As long as everybody else is happy, we're good. But then we've taken ourselves out. So it's not actually true peace. It's not whole.
Right.
Because we're not part of the picture.
Yeah.
And so I think exactly what you said is right.
That's good.
We need to eat food and provide for our family.
Yeah.
And not lose our minds in a job that's killing us.
Yeah.
You know, so I think having ambitions and having dreams and being able to say those things, which I still really struggle with a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then letting ourselves remember that that is part of, just like what you said, like in order for the true shalom, wholeness to exist, I must be part of it.
Yeah.
I must also experience the peace.
Yeah.
I must also be a part of the story.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is also, and it's something that we talked about a lot, I feel like, on this podcast, but like having that statement or having that central idea to what your business is and who you are, which is like kind of two different things, but having both of those, like not only does it take into account who you are and how you want things to look and goals and values and all of that, but I think having that redirects, like there's so much redirection that can come to just going back to a central statement of who you are, what you are, your intent. Like it just redirects a lot of thoughts. And we talked about that on like a practical level of like, don't go chasing work that doesn't fit your central idea, like of who you are. But in this sense, like don't go chase rejection. Like don't go chase the feeling of being rejected. If it doesn't fit, like that doesn't fit your idea of yourself. Right. Like, or it needs to not. Like rejection needs to not be a part of your main statement. Right.
And
so if it's not like, if rejection, like that's not saying that people won't reject you, but like, can you come back to the fact of who you are, what you're here for, and maybe it's helping you continue to refine that and dig deeper into that and what that needs to look like. So, I
hear you saying like, because this is what I'm.
Yeah. Please clarify. I
hear you saying like when you have the central mission statement, then you're not going to go chasing, which my brain keeps, don't go chasing waterfalls. Yeah, now that sounds stuck in my head. Thank you, John. So if anyone else is there with me,
please stick to the rivers and the lakes
that you're used to.
Yeah.
But I am hearing you say, don't go after like the big shiny object that you think is going to be easier. For me, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And what coming back around to like, no, I really want to help people not feel like trash and feel like a masterpiece. But I was chasing after these other things that feel like they were going to be more lucrative, more quickly.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what I hear you saying is if we start chasing, if we have like shiny object syndrome, we keep chasing all these other things that don't matter.
Right.
Rejection is going to become part of it because honestly, we're not cut out. Like that's not where we're supposed to be.
Well,
so we're not going to do well in those circles necessarily.
And I think we can be honest about who we are and who we're talking to. And we always have been, right? Like we've always been honest about that. Like who we are and who we're talking to. We're just not, we care about people and we want to work with people. And I think if we want to do that, like we have to have an understanding that number one, not every person is right for us.
Yeah.
And we're not right for every person.
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. And number two, like we want the relationship. So if we want the relationship, like we're going to have to learn how to have the relationship, just like with anybody else. And part of that's going to be rejection. And part of it's going to be sticking to who and what we declared we were going to be and not letting things like, I just need to make money, get in the way of that.
Yeah.
Because that's where that mindset of, okay, now that person's gone, I need to replace them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, like that's what that is. That motivation is not about a relationship with a human being. The motivation is that is a invoice that didn't get paid and I need a new one.
Yeah. That's tricky.
So
yeah, I see what you mean.
That's hard. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I think that's who we are and that's who we're talking to. And so we just got to do the hard work.
Yeah. Staying true to the hard work is going to lead to less burnout, because if you just replace invoices, you're going to, just like you said, you're going to
chase them all the time.
You're going to take the stuff you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you don't want to, that you're not that great at, or that you are fine at, but isn't where you're going to grow.
Yeah. So Bonni, where are you challenging your fear of rejection right now?
Where am I challenging my fear? So this is what I'm continuing to work on, is my language of putting myself out there, like in this new direction.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find it, but I'm also afraid to experiment because it feels touchy. And I am feeling back in the boat of like needing so much affirmation. Like I want everyone to affirm everything that I say all the time.
Yeah.
And be like, is this the right thing to say? Is this the right thing to say? And that's not
Don't
great. Do that. I don't need to do that. So yeah, I think just continuing to like, I said I was going to build up a library of content and then just slowly release it. And I think that's what I need to do. Yeah. Is just get there and then let it go. And then maybe like not even check metrics like anywhere for 3 weeks.
Yeah. Just let it sit.
Yeah. And just leave it as it is, because I want the affirmation. I want people to, I want to know people are rejecting me and all those things.
I mean, I feel that on a different level. Like when I cold email people, like I am so tempted to check my email so often.
Oh my gosh. Did they get back to me?
Right. Like, what are they going to say? I think, you know? And so I think that's just a natural human thing. Is like, you want people to hear what you're saying, and you want to know that they heard it. Yeah. And then you want their feedback. Yeah. And when you don't get it, that's hard. So yeah, but that's good.
Yeah. Okay. What about you? How are you feeling about this rejection? Are you pepped?
Yeah. I mean, I feel good. I feel good. Thanks, Bonni. Thanks. This is a great session. I don't pay for Bonnie's coaching services. We just get to do a podcast together. No, I mean, I feel better. No, I do feel like, it's a growing season for me, because I feel like my goal has been to reach out. You just apologize to the microphone. Yeah, sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to hit you. My goal, since my coaching group ended, my goal has been to at least reach out to at least one business per week. And I haven't always hit that goal. I'm getting a lot better at it and more consistent at it. But I think what that's pushing me to do is, again, just like continue to refine my approach, because I want someone to see it as an approach that's not based solely around me making money, you know? And so like, how can I continue? Cause really ultimately, like, a relationship is what I'm after. And that was one of the big mindset shifts that I had to go through, was like, I'm not just after my next paycheck. I'm not after trying to feed my family every month, which is a part of a goal, but it's not my intent. My intent is to have long-lasting business relationships with people. Yeah. So that I can support them, they can support me, and we can, you know, we can survive together, and flourish together. So I think that has been the shift. And so attempting to approach people in a way that isn't just like, I'm your video guy. Yeah. Here's what I can do.
Let me help you with this one project.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think that's been the challenge. And so that's honestly like that central mission statement, like coming back to that, but then also thinking like, how is this changing even right now? And becoming more clear. So
that's good. I was thinking about this thing I said on a different podcast. Sorry, Jen. We'll always podcast together. No, but the question was something like, what is it like to be a growing 9? Something like that. And my response was just, it's a work of always like returning to yourself. Yeah. And I feel like that is important to say out loud as the 9, because we feel like bad about doing it intrinsically already. And then there's a lot of messages in culture also that say, like, don't think about yourself. Don't be selfish. Well, there's a lot that paints that as selfish as well. Right. But in order to be your healthiest self and to be like able to handle rejection, let me tell you, a stressed out, unhealthy 9 is not going to handle rejection well.
It's going to be bad.
Yeah, like it's going to take you out.
Yeah.
And so remembering that, like, the goal is to continue to be healthy and to continue to grow.
Yeah.
What that means for a 9 is coming back to yourself.
Yeah.
There are some numbers that need to forget themselves every once in a while. That is not the case for an Enneagram 9.
Yeah.
Ours is come back to yourself, check in with yourself, recenter the mission statement. Jonathan can give you one of my giant Post-it notes that I bought to hang on the wall.
They're behind you.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can write our mission statements on the Post-it big notes.
Nice.
11 by 11 inch.
Okay.
Yellow.
Sounds good. I might be changing mine slightly, actually, but
it's okay. It's a Post-it note, so you can just throw it away.
I can just rip it down and get a new one.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great idea, Bonnie.
Yeah. That's what it's
hey, you're a coach. You're so smart.
You're welcome. I'm not printing this on a canvas.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Sweet. Well,
that
there
was
you go.
Good. That was
rejection,
good.
friends.
Who knew we were going to riff for 40 minutes on rejection?
Yeah. I did look down at the clock at 15 minutes and thought, oh gosh, we got to keep going. Like 15 minutes, I was already like, I hate rejection. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So,
you did so good, Bonnie.
Yeah, way to go.
Hey, come work like a 9 with us.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's so fun.
We had our first work like a 9 co-working group.
Like the live
in September,
thing.
Like the actual thing. We're going to have another one here, the 16th.
16th.
Sorry. Whew. Man, my date numbers are off.
When this episode comes out, it will be in just a few days.
Okay.
After that.
All right. So we are not closing like enrollment.
No.
Like it is an open thing. You may join us whenever you like. You may leave us whenever you like, and we will not feel rejected.
Yeah.
Or we will try.
Or we will feel rejected, and we will do the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
To overcome
we will cope well. And so, yes, entrepreneurs.com to join us on Work Like a 9. If you're wondering what that all means, go to entrepreneurs.com. There's a good outline there. Or we just did 5 or 6 podcasts about it.
Lots. Just
so there's a lot of information.
go listen to those. Only $9 a month. And then we have been having a fun time on our Voxer channel.
Yeah, that has been fun.
So we are keeping in touch. And building relationships outside of there as well. We already have a couple topics that we want to talk about live. Yep. In our next call on the 16th. So don't miss out. We'd love to have you. Also, we're on the internets. You can find John and I, our websites, our social media, all of those things in the show notes. And we'd love for you to follow along and also, follow EntrepreNINES on the gram.
On the gram.
Or Facebook. You know what?
What?
We can Threads now. Because you can switch accounts on Threads. So maybe I'll Threads.
You almost said we in Threads, and then you looked at me and you're like,
nah. John's not doing that. He's not doing it, guys.
No, it's not. That's not John. John's not on Threads.
Yeah.
But what? EntrepreNINES is on Threads.
Yeah, we have no Threads, but maybe I'll thread now.
Okay, cool. I'll show up for the thread, maybe. Also, leave us a rating and review. Helps other people find us. And that's it.
That's it.
That's all we got. Can I do a little something real quick? So I have some friends from my coaching group who just started a podcast.
Okay.
And I listened to it, and it's so funny. They're from Tennessee.
Okay.
And
they got the draw?
Yeah. So can I share something?
Yes.
They had such a hard time ending the podcast, and they said it's such a Southern thing because it takes 45 minutes to leave a party.
It's true.
And so you're from Louisiana,
right?
/ Texas. Mm-hmm. I grew up in North Carolina.
This is just the problem. It's just baked
we just cannot say bye.
In the DNA.
Yeah. So thank you to Garrett
for pointing out this problem.
Yeah.
This is the lingering. This is the circling back. This is the grabbing the door handle and then letting go, and then grabbing the door handle and then letting go. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Sorry, it might have been Jared that brought it. It's Garrett and Jared is the 2 guys. But thanks, guys.
That's not a tongue twister at all.
Garrett and Jared.
Yeah.
Is it hard?
Yeah.
That's hard.
I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
All right. Well, this is our third goodbye, friends. Thank you for listening. We love you. And good night.
Good night. See you later.